Alright, how you doing? Thanks so much for being here. I'm instructor Dwayne Jenkins. Welcome to Dwayne's Guitar Lessons. In today's video, I'm going to answer another question that I've asked. Had one of my students was asking me, like, how do guitar players solo all over the fretboard? And the way they do that is by knowing these certain scales, okay? At least that's kind of how I do it, and most of the people that I've studied, that's how they do it as well. So, what I would recommend it for, just starting out playing lead guitar, is start off with learning your 5 pentatonic patterns. There's 5 of them, and if you learn them, you can span the whole fretboard and stay in key. Because that's one thing that a lot of people do, I notice, is they'll learn like 1 or 2 patterns, and then they step out of the pattern, and they get lost, and then they get out of key. Well, if you learn these patterns, it'll build like a roadmap on your fretboard, and you'll be able to move along the fretboard anywhere you want, up and down, in any fret, and you'll be able to stay in key. And that works great for like improvising, okay? It also helps you to understand some solos from some of your favorite players as well, because I noticed that when I learned this stuff, it helped me to understand what these players were doing when I was studying their solos. I'd be like, oh, he's using pattern 4 for that one. Oh, he's doing that in then pattern 2, or that one's in pattern 1, or whatever. So that really helps you. It gives you some insight into some of your favorite players when you decide to learn some of their solos, and I highly recommend you do that. So if you're interested in doing that, stick around, and I'll show you how you do it. So what we're going to do here in these next few lessons is we're going to study the 5 pentatonic patterns. And today we're looking at pattern 1. I've mentioned this many times in some of my videos, but I want to mention it again. This is the very first pattern that you study, that you learn when it comes to playing lead guitar. And it's not just lead guitar, it works in rhythm guitar as well. But we're going to do it right here. We're going to do it in G, okay? That way we can span the whole fretboard pretty easy. So in this first lesson today, we're going to look at our G minor pentatonic, and I say minor because a lot of rock and blues is in a minor key, and this works really well for that. So what we're going to do, we're going to start right here at the 3rd fret. It's going to go 3, 6, 3, 5, 3, 5, 3, 5, 3, 6, 3, 6. Then if you go back, 6, 3, 6, 3, 5, 3, 5, 3, 5, 3, 6, 3. Now that's just a pattern. It's called a box pattern, and you want to learn that, okay? And you want to, first of all, I would recommend just going through it like this, just real slow, and make sure you can go back and forth, just be able to go it. I look at it like you're walking up and down a staircase, okay? And every finger is just like a step on the next, step. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And make sure that you can do it backwards as well as forward, because if you do it backwards, starting with the pinky, you're going to be leading with the pinky this way, like this. And that's a lot harder to do than it is going forward, leading with the index finger. And if you can't use the pinky, then you can stretch your 3rd finger out like this if you want, and use that for the 1, the 3, and the 6. But I recommend use your pinky. It's just going to be better. As you have it, why not use it, right? But you can do it any way you want to do it. Doesn't really matter. So what I would recommend is do that. And then once you get that pattern down, work on doing it all over the fretboard. Here we're doing it at the 3rd fret, but do it at the 2nd fret. Jump around, jump up here to maybe the 6th fret, which would be B flat right here. Do it up here at the 10th fret, right here. Do it at the 12th fret. The 12th fret, you'd be in E minor. Do it at the 1st fret, now you're in F. So I recommend really get that down, really get that pattern down and play it everywhere. G, A at the 5th fret. And know really where you're playing it too. That makes a big difference as well, okay? That's kind of like step 1, just getting that pattern, familiar with it up and down across the fretboard, and then along the fretboard as well. And if you know your notes on your 6th string, which I highly recommend that you learn all the notes on all your strings, but for sure the 6th string, because that's going to tell you what key you're playing in. So you're playing in A minor, G minor, C minor, B minor, E minor, D minor, F minor. You know, go through all 12 keys. You know, F sharp minor, B flat minor, you know what I mean? That's the main thing you want to do. Just get that down real good. You get it to where you can play it all over the fretboard and any fret. 10th fret, 12th fret, 15th, you know, 3rd, 5th, 8th, 2nd. Doesn't really matter. Just make sure you can play it all over it. That's the number one. Just make sure you know that. Then what you want to do is you don't want to just like go up and down the fretboard all the time because it makes it sound a little mechanical. So what I would recommend doing is jump around, okay? So once again, let's say we're doing it here in G. Instead of just going like this, because that gets a little mechanical, you know what I mean? Jump around the notes, maybe listen to the root note, the G. There's another G right here on the 5th fret, 4th string, and another G right here on the 1st string, 3rd fret. Know where those root notes are because they're going to be in every single position. Every time that you play this pattern, those notes are always going to be in those positions. It doesn't matter what key you're playing. If you're playing in A, it's going to be right here on the 6th fret, right here on the 4th, I'm sorry, not 6th fret, but the 6th string, right here on the 4th string, and right here on the 1st string within the pattern every single time. So you want to master that. Remember that. You know, if you're playing it, know those are where your root notes are, and the root notes are important to know because that's where you could start a lick or you could end a lick, something like that, which we'll go into that later. But for right now, you just want to learn the pattern and know where those root notes are. And in pattern 1, this is called pattern 1 in the minor pentatonic scale, right here, and right here. Okay? Then what you want to do is kind of bounce around the pattern a little bit. You know, listen to the notes. This will really help to train your ear, okay? So you don't want to just go like this, you know? That's okay at first, but after you get that down and you got the pattern down and you can visualize it, you want to practice visualization. It's very, very important. Practice your visualization and then do this. Just jump around, you know, listen to the notes. Listen how they sound. Jump around and you just start to come up with really creative little ideas, you know? And even use like 3 notes, maybe just 3 notes. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. See, and it trains your ear to hear those notes. And one thing that a lot of guitar players do too is they'll play a lick and they'll play the note that's right underneath it. Okay, so make sure you jump around like that where you play the note that's right underneath a specific note. Play that note and then the one right underneath it. And bounce around too, jump around, skip some strings. And what it does is it helps to train your ear to listen, to hear those notes, okay? And another thing you might want to do is try to add the blue note, which is your blues scale. It's funny, the blues scale is pretty much the same thing as the minor scale. It's the same thing as the pentatonic scale, but you're going to add a note. And you're going to add the flat 5th, which is going to be right here in 2 spots and also right here. So that's going to give you something more to work with. You can go... See how that changes the character of that pattern? Listen. 5 notes, pentatonic pattern, 5 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? Now if you add this 6th note, which is the flat 5th, now listen to the way it sounds. See how that note right there just darkens up the scale. So that's something you can add as well. So that's what we're going to do here. This is the first lesson. Learn pattern 1. And learn it and be able to play it all over the fretboard. That's going to make a big, huge deal. I would work with maybe a metronome or work with some backing tracks or a drum beat or something like that. And then that way you can really get familiar with that pattern. And if you want to use the blue scale, that's fine too. Okay, so that's going to be our lesson for today. Master that scale. Make sure that you master the pattern. Make sure that you can play it all over the fretboard. Make sure that you can play it back and forth. Start with your index finger going this way. Start with your pinky going back this way. And if you do that, you're going to get to know it. Very, very familiar with it. The other thing you can do is add that blue note to make the blue scale, which is the flat fifth in this particular pattern. And if you do that, and just what I would recommend, just do that for one day. One day. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go through all 5 patterns for the next 5 lessons. So if you do 1 pattern per day in 5 days, you'll have all 5 patterns. And then we'll learn each one individually, and then we'll learn how to connect them together. Okay? So keep practicing. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and I will see you at our next lesson.